Hi guys! This year I'm participating in Bill Making Stuff's Big Boat Bash, and I cannot be more excited about this project. For those who don't know what it is, it's a contest with no losers for kit builders, bot bashers, scratch builders, or whatever they are called, to make something from scratch and whatnot. Every year, Bill makes a Junkbot Generator that determines what you will make using a D20, and that's a die with 20 numbers. I already made a video of the die throwing in real time, so I sped up this one. And I can assure you, I did not cheat. These are the numbers I threw. Head? Nope. Arms? Wires. Body? Armor. Legs? Triple jointed. And for the flavor, a meaty one. Don't know about that last one, but overall I was pleased with the numbers. Except for the head. Nope. I use a doll for this build to make another cyborg, and usually they have some kind of a head. Maybe she will only have some sort of a brain? I have to think about it, as usually. I gathered some plastic trashes and of course my bucket with all my salvaged electronics and stuff. And I was giving it all a first look if some things already spoke to me. These cable thingies I probably could use for armor, on the shoulder at least. But what to do with the meat? Maybe the flesh of a human body is already enough meaty? So maybe I'm already done with that one? Let's see what to do with the triple joints. This is the ugly doll I wanted to use, and she needs some surgery on the legs. And yeah, all over. Everything had to be cut up. My favorite bit. Well, almost. Off with her head. Bye. And what else could I use? Trying to get inspiration for all the categories. Could I use these instead of the eyes? I got them from an old little cheap radio or something with noise. The white balls for her knees? They have to be triple jointed. What kind of legs and feet could I give her? This looks fun. She would have something turning instead of a head. But I don't have a saw to cut this thing. Too bad. This piece of wire looks like a nice neck. And this may be his armor? I made a thrift store round to see if I could find some treasures. But I couldn't find anything I could take apart, or it was too expensive. But what I did find was something I could use as a base. I'd already used something similar in a smaller form for my first cyborg. And since this project would be a bit bigger, this larger metal wire ball seemed perfect. Everything else in my basket was too expensive. They had no price tags on them, and you know of the price at the checkout. Too bad. And by preparing this base first, I had time to think about her legs. I sanded the metal and gave it a grey base coat. For the nope head, I thought I could get away with a see-through sphere with only brains in it and a lot of wires, so the cyborg does get to function normally. And the wires were also needed for her arms, so I think I could make that work. Maybe I was inspired by Mayochrome's Big Bot Bash from last year, who knows? I had some spheres left from my jellyfish mermaid and I used a little one. The big one wasn't complete, and I tried to make the other half from resin, but I didn't like it, so the little one it is. I made a hole so the wires could get through the neck, and I sanded everything. Time to start with the base so I could begin with her legs. As with my cyborg, I wanted to start from the bottom. I thought it was easier that way. So I glued a wire on the base with super glue and baking soda. And it was time to tackle the triple joints. I had a lot of spare legs left. Maybe I could cobble something together from that. So I cut up a few legs into pieces and glued them together with wire and super glue and baking soda and hot glue. I forgot to cut off her feet, so I did that now, not knowing if I'll use them anyway. But whether I did or I didn't, I think I have my triple joints now. And meanwhile, I found some tools from soft pastels or pan pastels. I thought looked a lot like those Blades athletic shoes. I don't know what they are called, but I thought that would be cool as hell to use instead of feet. I tried to bend them with my heat gun, and that worked luckily. And those metal strips I thought I could use for armor, I thought were perfect addition to the blades to make them more tough. I drilled holes in them and glued them onto the legs with superglue and baking soda. Yeah, that could work. Time to glue the rest of the body together. And time to do some experiments again. I used this technique already, but that was for curly strings. Now I needed some tight curls for brains. So I did a few attempts and tried to fuse them together like a ball. And of course, it had to fit in the sphere. And I got something I thought I could use. Then it was time to make the body beautiful again. And you who are following me for a while now know I use white glue and baking soda for that instead of epoxy sculpt or something like it. First of all, I never used epoxy sculpt for the simple reason it's too expensive for me right now. But I also think my method with the baking soda is very friendly for the hands and the environment. No smells, no toxic fumes, and I think it's as sturdy as epoxy sculpt. But that, of course, I don't know for sure. I gave her a bigger butt and a bigger boobs just because I think all the dolls I use are too small and too skinny. After a day, the baking soda mixture is dry and I can figure out what to do with her body. But by now, I saw Bill's definition of a meaty one in a video, and it was totally by accident I saw this. I will put his link below. And that means incorporate a lot of tubes, a lot of eyes, and a lot of meat. And I really wanted to do his meaning of it justice. So she really is going to be a meaty one, I hope. Bill, if you're watching, let me know if I got it right, please. I found some tube straws. Maybe I could use them. And I don't know why I'm sending her here, because she needs to be more meatier than this, so she doesn't need to be smooth. But well, let's move on. I just have to bite the bullet. She's not smooth and beautiful anymore. Let's give her some thickness. I covered her all over with hot glue. But she also needed a lot of eyes, so I got all my gemstones out and chose some half sphere ones and used them as eyeballs. This was also immediately the solution for the missing eye in the missing head. So I placed a lot of eyes on the front and a few on the back. I found some better tubes than the straws, and this bit from a spray bottle was perfect for a weapon of some sort. This thing is also turning. Meh, maybe for another build. So I gathered some stuff I thought I could build two nice cannons from, just as with my first cyborg. I think I wanted her to have a fellow fighter, so she's not alone in her apocalyptic war. I'm gluing some bits together, cutting bits off, and gluing some more. And then my first disaster struck. When drilling, the whole thing warped down in space. I found a few pieces, but to this day I didn't find the rest. And apparently I didn't film the rest because it happened with my next weapon also. Also wasn't seen to this day. So I made two weapons off camera. The first one made from a lip balm stick, glue caps and other bits. It still turns for now. And as with my other cyborg, these weapons also got fused with her arms. Or she held them like this, like Vi does in Arcane. You can figure that one out for yourself. Here is her second weapon, also made from a lot of bits from electronics and circuit boards and stuff. As you noticed, I didn't glue her to her stand till now, but now is the time, really. I used all the glue I got on there without being sloppy. And if I do get sloppy, I will cover that up with flock or something later, no worries. Then I gave her a layer of primer as well, also to see if anything else was needed. Some of the weapon bits I covered with masking fluid, but I removed it too quickly here. I still have to paint the rest. I found an old broken necklace I thought I could use as wire. For the tiny surface of the brain, I didn't want to get the paints out, so I used Inktense pencils for this. When used wet, it dries up permanent. And I also did her eyes with it. But that was because it's more precise with a tiny brush than blobs of paint. And by now I knew she was going to be red, so I wanted her eyes to really pop, and I painted them bright blue. But the next day I painted her body with acrylics, and The blobs of paint messed with her eyes. I already made, so beautiful. So I redid them also with the paint. The body got multiple washes of different colors. The base I painted black. Her blades and guns got some metallic paints and black and brown washes. All of the washes I also did with acrylic paint. The copper part I gave a greenish wash so that it appears oxidized. Guns are probably not made of copper usually, but I don't care. I just love these colors. Maybe it isn't copper at all in this world, but it oxidizes just the same. I wanted some details for the guns in another color and I chose the bright blue. The energy from the guns are that color and it matches her eyes. I did some touch-ups on the eyes with the same blue. The guns also got a black wash with the watered down acrylic paint. It may not drip as well, as good as with an oil wash, but it does the job just the same. Some last minute spatter to give it all a dirty look. After all, she's in a fight. No one stays clean in a fight. I forgot I had a watercolor painting in the bag. Oh my god. Luckily, it wasn't harmed too much. And it was time to finish her head. Nope. I tried to get the brain and all the wire in the sphere and gluing them all together. It took some fiddling, but I got there. And then I had to tackle all the wires for her arms. I wanted them also starting from the brain, so I drilled some holes in the sphere so they all could get through. But to do that, I had to glue the first half on her body. And the fiddling continued. But it all worked. I had to put more wires on there for the arms. The base needs some covering, and I wanted her to look more slithery. And I gave her some tubes on her shoulders, and I thought that would be a good place to get rid of all her excess moisture. So I put some UV resin colored with red paint all over the tubes and all over her body. Off camera, I put some homemade flock I made from sawdust and brown paint on the base and covered it with watered down white glue. And I almost forgot, but I had all those tiny bits from the circuit boards I wanted to put on the guns at the last minute without painting them. So I glued them on here and there. And I called her finished. Oh no, I forgot something completely. Remember my numbers. For the body I rolled armor, but as I was going along with the project and decided on her meaty body, I totally forgot about it. But I so not wanted to make an armor to cover her tasty body. So what to do? I presented my problem to my husband, and he said, while knowing almost nothing about my project other than she was meaty, why not cover her with some sort of a mucus or slime? And I thought that was brilliant. So I covered her in silicone gel. That was gonna be her protection, her armor. And then she was really finished. Yeah, she was. But I wanted to do something more on the base, so I put some more dry, brushes on there. I also covered the bottom of the base with some UV resin to protect any surface she is going to stand on. And this was really the last thing I did, so now I can share with you the final pictures. And I'm so happy with her. The only thing I regret is not making the brain juicy or slimy or slithery, because I already glued the sphere on, the sphere shut when I thought about it. And thanks for Bill from Bill Making Stuff for hosting the Bitbot Bash 3 this year. And I'm so looking forward to see what everybody made. I will check them out as much as I can. And really, so should you. There are so much great creators among us. So thanks, Bill. And as always, I would so much love it if you put your thoughts down below. And if you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. It would so help my channel grow. And in case you haven't read my post about the giveaway, please check it out. And I hope to see you next time.